I think there's always room for more pinball manufacturers in the hobby and the fans, whatever you like about pinball. The more we have making pinball machines, the better it is for all of us. Whether it's somebody making a one-off out of their garage, I rethemed the Valley Rapid Fire into a 300 game that Mark over here now has in his possession. It's a one-of-a-kind. I took a game that, even though I think Dennis Nordman had something to do with maybe at least the cabinet design of, and kind of redid it from scratch. But it's a fun game and it made me happy. I spend way too much money and way too much time on it, but that's what we do with this hobby. Whether we play it more than we should, we buy 20 pinball machines more than we should and we have it in our house, it's all about playing pinball. It's having fun, and I think that's what Jack's really trying to do here with Wizard of Oz. He's picked a great theme with a great history and legacy here in America and around the world especially, that a lot of us, not everybody, but a lot of us grew up on, expecting and waiting for that time of the year to see the movie, pre-VHS, pre-DVD, pre-digital, and I think it's a part of Americana. So I think they're on the right track, and I think they've got a lot more things coming down the road, so without any further hesitation here, I think it's time for Jersey Jack. I think you're all good, my friend. Get a water there for you.
Oh, great.
All right. Good to be
Hey, everybody. How's everybody doing today?
Very
excellent.
Good. I was enjoying the Florida weather before, laying in the sun, and drove up from Orlando into the clouds, so that's Florida weather. Rain and cloudy, but it's still better than New Jersey for now. Hey, Eric?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I spent the last few days at IAPA, that's the amusement park show, the International Amusement Parks and Attractions show, where I lost about 3/4 of my voice. So lucky for all of you, I won't be talking that long today, so that's a good thing. Well, we'll see how much of it we can lose. I'm more interested always to get questions because I like the audience interaction and people asking me things. And so what I'll do is I'll just talk for a few minutes, we'll take some questions. Maybe I'll talk a little bit more. I got a big box of T-shirts there. Jersey Jack T-shirts that we'll give out, which has kind of like become the tradition of what we do, and we'll go from there. We used to have a priest that used to say, "The mind can only endure what the seed can endure." Well, let me screw this up again. So anyway, the longer you sit and the more you hear, the less you really want to sit there. So I don't want to keep anybody away from doing our favorite thing, pinball, which is really what brings all of us together. And luckily for me, I get to go and do these shows all over the country, and sometimes I talk to 4 people, or I talk to myself, or I talk to 100 people, 200 people, and it's always cool for me. It's always a lot of fun to do that. I'm going to guess that most people have heard that in January I started a new pinball company, and there were a lot of people that were really happy to hear that. And there were a bunch of people that said that I'm absolutely crazy, which I absolutely am. And if I really knew what was involved in starting a pinball company when I did my homework for maybe a year before I officially started it, I probably would have had paralysis by analysis. I probably would not have done it. That doesn't mean I'm sorry I'm doing it. That means that all the things that come into play, the fear factor, that would attack a normal person, not an entrepreneurial person such as myself, because I believe everything is possible. And I don't like to lose, so I really don't give up. And that makes it a lot easier for me. It makes it harder for people that work with me. And we're driven and we're trying to make the best possible game that we can make. I've said it before, it's been used against me. We're not building games with calculators. So when I started the company, I didn't sit down and take pencil to paper and figure out a business plan. I didn't say I'm going to make X amount of profit by building X amount of games. I didn't even find out. Actually, I don't even know what my bill of materials is right now, which is kind of crazy because we're going into production in a few months. So I just know that what we build, when we build it, is going to be a game that, even if you don't like the theme Wizard of Oz, you're going to like to play the game because it's going to be fun. There's a lot of games out there that have no theme. But we go out and we play them, and it's really fun. So you can have a game with a theme, and it's a crappy game, and it's still a crappy game with a theme. So it's not so much about the theme Wizard of Oz, but the Wizard of Oz, it was touched on a couple of moments ago. Why I thought it was important to do it as my first game was I wanted to get worldwide recognition for the game. Here's a theme to a movie that when I was a kid, it wasn't on DVD, there was no DVD, it wasn't on VCR, there was no VCR. It's a movie that came on once a year, and everybody stopped and they watched The Wizard of Oz, and the whole family watched. Little kids watched, grandma watched, and you said, I didn't even know it was in color until like years later. It was black and white. I said, wow, the thing is in color. That was kind of amazing. So everybody has a Wizard of Oz story to tell. I didn't really realize it, but there are tens of thousands of people that are Wizard of Oz collectors. And welcome, come on in. There must be a seat somewhere. Sydney lost the seat now.
Right.
So, you know, there's thousands and thousands of Wizard of Oz collectors. We've even gone to some Wizard of Oz shows, and my daughter went with some of our people in Chesterton, Indiana. We've sold some games to Wizard of Oz people, and they said to me, I'm not going to play the game, I just bought it because it's Wizard of Oz. And I said, too bad, you can't buy the game then, you have to play it because it's pinball. So we're hoping that we're going to use technology in our game to introduce pinball to a new playing audience. Not that there's anything wrong with us as us playing audience, but personally, I don't really want to see more pinball museums. I want to see more pinball machines on location. Okay, so I wear a few different hats, and I'll show you a couple things. In one of my lives, so in one of my lives, I'm the president of a company called ELOUT USA. ELOUT USA is an operating company. It revenue shares games all over the United States. It has locations like Universal Studios here in Orlando, down there in Orlando, and Hollywood, and all Busch Parks, all Six Flags parks, SeaWorld, and all kinds of locations like that. It operates about 6,700 machines of all different types, as well as remote control boats and cars and trucks and things like that. And I'm in the industry 36 years. I started as a pinball mechanic in 1975, fixing electromechanical pinball machines in colleges, because I thought maybe I was going to go to college for electrical engineering, and I took 6 months off to take that job, and that was 36 years ago. So, let's see how this works. Okay. So anyway, The Wizard of Oz, this is those are my kids. So we'll go back to kids. The Wizard of Oz, you know, I licensed it for two things specifically. I licensed it for Pusher, which this is a wonderful mechanical redemption merchandising machine that gives out cards and chips. And that game is you know, very, very successful. I would say it's doing, certain place it's doing several $1,000s in revenue a day. Okay, it's a $52,000 game. Last year I stood at IAPA with the game. It was the hit of the show, and we sold 0 games. And because of that, I lost 2 salespeople that worked for the company, because my partner at the time didn't believe that we would be selling the game, so we wanted to scale down the sales part of the company. What I succeeded in doing was I succeeded in getting the game out to locations. Started at the Jersey Shore in the summertime, and you know, went out in June, and we had to fly them in from Belgium. That game happens to be made in Belgium. We had to fly them in from Belgium, $6,000 air freight, big gigantic, crate that comes in, and people were writing checks, $52,000 plus tax plus freight. Thank you, Jack, you made my summer. We had one operator that actually bought 4 of them in 5 weeks. So it was pretty cool. We were still delivering them at the end of August, okay? This is a game that a whole load of people told me it's not possible. You can't do it. Operators down the Jersey Shore, they don't pay for anything. They don't buy anything after July 4th. And this is right now, this is like the #1 game in the United States, okay? And it just so happens to be Wizard of Oz. Wizard of Oz is #1 slot machine. Somebody saw Roger Sharp earlier, good friend of mine. Roger was responsible for licensing Wizard of Oz as a slot machine. And there's, I think, 7 or 8 different variations of Wizard of Oz. We did knock off Wheel of Fortune. Yeah, Roger works for Williams still. And Roger actually will tell you, if you grab a hold of him, that he was, I didn't know this, but he was trying to get a couple other pinball companies to make a Wizard of Oz pinball machine for a number of years. And he was told it's an irrelevant theme. So much for that. So anyway, in the course of everything that I operate throughout the United States, I only have a handful of pinball machines because, unfortunately, they don't earn money. And you may hear, may read, may see people tell you about stools and parts of different industry segments and things like that. And operating pinball is very, very difficult today. It's impossible to operate pinball and make money. I have, I said this before, right here, Shrek Pinball Machine, Universal Studios Orlando Arcade, and the hand towel machine in the bathroom does more than that machine. It's sad. It does like $30 a week. It's there to try to keep Dad in the room with his wallet there a little longer. I had a NASCAR pinball machine at a bar that we operate in Myrtle Beach called Broadway Lou's. Anybody ever been to Myrtle Beach, Broadway Lou's? Oh, you got to go there. It's a great place. We have about 200, 250 games in that bar. It's really amazing. There's upstairs, a lot of video games. Pinball machine. One pinball machine was there. It was NASCAR in a bar. Okay. I looked at the collection report. As of October 11th, it did $503 for the whole year. Year to date, $503. So it's a NASCAR pinball machine in NASCAR country, and we operate games at NASCAR Park, also in Myrtle Beach. So pinball has become this thing that younger people are not interested in. It's grandpa's game, it's dad's game, it's our game. It's not. It's kind of sad. And my belief was that if it's not fun, and this game that I just showed you is beyond fun, it's addictive. It's a game that grabs you in, and you have to collect cards, and you have to collect chips and things like that. So it's a little bit different because you're playing for prizes. And with pinball, we know you're not really playing for prizes. It's been tried before to put, a ticket dispenser on a pinball machine, and it's really something very difficult to do because how are you going to award tickets? It becomes a redemption game. I hear operators are lazy people. I'm an operator. I'm a technician. I'm a manufacturer. I'm a distributor. I export games. I import games. I've been involved in every phase of the amusement business, and I don't know everything. I'm willing to try something new myself. So when a game like that comes along and people pile into it, what this did for coin pushers, I'm going to do for pinball with the Wizard of Oz pinball. Okay, that's my idea. So really, I'm not building a home game. Okay, I'm not building a game for us as players because I'm a player and I'm a collector and I love pinball and I have a lot of pinball machines at home. But primarily, it's not built for that only. This is built as a commercial game to go out and on location. I would love nothing more than to operate, a couple, 200-300 pinball machines on my route. If I build them, if somebody says to you, well, if your operator doesn't want a pinball machine, why don't you go out and buy a pinball machine and put it in the location? Because I've heard that before too. If it was so good to operate pinball and you had a pinball company, why don't you go buy 200 pinball machines that you just built and you put them out on location if it's so good? It's not good. It's bad. So I'm going to change that. I'm not going to promise I'm going to change that. I'm going to guarantee I'm going to change that. Okay, it's gonna change.